Okay, let's wait for a few seconds to make sure that we don't have anyone in the public.
Okay,
I just had a question. Is the district meeting this evening? Is that following the hospital or?
Yes,
yes.
Thank you.
So item number 3 is to go into closed session. Patrice, do we have to come out of this and click back on, or do we stay right where we are?
no, you need to leave this one and join through the link that I sent you before. And I just resent it a few minutes ago. If you can find it on your appointment, you should have an email with the link.
Okay, and
I don't-
we expect our closed session to be about 45 minutes, so we'll be coming back for a public meeting at 5:45. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so with that, we'll close this and go into closed session. See you all in a minute or two, we hope.
All right.
Thank you. This is John. We got everybody connected?
I think. We still need Tony, but everyone else is here.
We'll wait another second for Tony. We're out of closed session, right?
John, I wonder if that's Dr. Angel's phone number in the attendee section. I don't know if we need him as a panelist.
I'm sorry, Marcus. I didn't understand that. His phone number, you said?
Yeah, there's a random phone number 415 in the attendee list, not on that's not a panelist. I believe that might be Dr. Angel. So my question was, if he needed to provide a report, he would need to be promoted to a panelist.
I don't think I can I'm looking at it, and the only thing I can do is to allow to talk. I mean, because he's
That's
on the
probably fine.
phone.
That's probably fine. You can just raise his hand or.
Okay.
Thanks.
Do we have Tony back
Okay.
yet?
Yes, he is.
I'm here.
Good. Okay. So we're out of closed session. So we'll go to item number 5, which is consideration of any late additions to the board agenda. Hearing none, we'll close that and move on to public comment. Patrice, would you mind reading the requirements for public comment?
Yes, I will. Now is the time for public comment. If you wish to speak, please find the hand icon on the bottom of your screen and click on the icon to raise your hand. I'll call you by name when it is your turn. We ask that you please state your name at the beginning of your comment. Once you begin speaking, the timer will start. The countdown timer will display on the screen. If you are calling by phone, please dial *9 now to join the speaker queue. This will virtually raise your hand. I will identify you by the last 4 digits of your phone number. Please dial *6 to unmute yourself and begin to speak. At the end of your 2 minutes, your microphone will be muted automatically. And right now, I don't see anyone with their hand up.
Okay, let's just give it another second for those who are trying to connect. Okay, hearing none, we'll move along then to comments from the board members. Item number 7.
Yeah, Chair, I'll try to be short here, just because my voice is a little hoarse today. But I just want to say thank you to Stephen, thank you to everyone, the Watsonville Community Hospital staff, and of course, their families and their loved ones who went to the party recently at the Coconut Grove. My wife and I went as well too, and I was able to see John, Marcus. Was there. June was an incredible hostess, along with Matco as well too. And so just everyone who put in time to make that a reality. I was unaware. I think Matco had told me that it had been a couple decades since we last had something like that to celebrate Watsonville Community Hospital staff. And so I'm extremely excited that went off, that event happened, and that our staff was able to enjoy their time there. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tony. This is John. I'd like to ditto those comments. I know that part of Stephen's strategy and initiative is to continue to build a strong culture, and one way of doing it is to recognize people and events throughout the year. And he sort of started that in October around Halloween, and I know that Christmas party, holiday party are not cheap, but I think the turnout that was there, and the feedback that I'm hearing from people is over the top. So congratulations, Stephen, to you and your team for getting this culture change underway. It seems like it's successful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tony and John. Once again, we are investing in June and May staff event. They did a phenomenal job. So thank you for that recognition of their hard work. Appreciate it.
June, I have to comment that I was sitting in the middle of that room when you guys were all walking around, and it was shaken. And being earthquake conscious as I am, I was saying my prayers that 100-plus-year-old building was going to do its thing and hold us all up. So it did it. So moving along then to the CEO report, Stephen, you mentioned earlier that you did not have a report. I'm assuming that's still the case. Is there anything you wanted to?
Yeah, nothing. Just what I did want to do is introduce Julie Peterson. So she's our new CFO that I've been speaking about the last meetings. She is on board, and she's only been for a few weeks, but she's been digging into our budget. She's been working very well with our teams. She's a longtime native of Santa Cruz. We're blessed to have her. Once again, I'm a believer. All the stars align. You have the right people in the right place. We're confident she's the right CFO for our organization. And we're just excited for her to be on board. And I just want to publicly acknowledge and thank her for joining us in a difficult time, but also helping us to ensure that we're going to be a great organization long term.
Thank you. Welcome aboard again, Julie. We look forward to hearing from you. It was a pleasure meeting with you as part of the Finance Committee with Marcus yesterday, and I was very impressed with the reports, but you'll be telling us more as we move on with this meeting. So ditto again to Stephen's comments, and welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you.
So item number 9 is the consent agenda, which is on your calendar. Any questions from the board to the staff about those items listed?
No question, just a comment John shared. That I really appreciated all the work that you just talked about, Julie, and the work that the board will see shortly. But just to be able to provide the quality dashboard, that was really great to see that already within a few months of us taking ownership of the hospital. I was really pleased to see the quality of that report. So I'm just thankful. I'm thankful for that we're moving quickly and getting a lot done. So thank you to staff for preparing that. And when we're there, I'll move approval of the consent.
I'll second that, Chair. And I do have a question for Allison, just about Assembly Bill 361. I think I'm unaware of when that bill deadlines, when that goes out of effect, and then also if we have any sort of plans to craft our own telecommunications rules in the near future, and what that might look like. If that's too early, or if this is too early of a question, I totally understand. But any answers there? You're muted, Allison. Sorry.
Hi. I'm
Sorry
not
about that.
Oh, okay. Wrong Allison. Okay, good. I was like, I don't think this is for me, but I see you there.
Yes. So Assembly Bill 361 it will end when the public health emergency ends with the state. So I think we have a few more months of being able to use that bill, but I think right now the public health emergency is going to be ending. I think it's like the end of March or April. So when that ends, we won't be able to take advantage of what that bill provides. So after that, there will be two options. So the first option is to go back to the old Brown Act teleconferencing rules. So, and those require, you're still allowed to teleconference, but there's a lot of things that, there's a lot of requirements that need to be met. One of which is that you need to make, if you are remote, you need to make your location available to the public. You need to have a sign outside. So, those types of things people don't really, sometimes feel comfortable with doing, but those requirements will be required. There is also AB 2449, which gives you a little bit of leeway to hold remote meetings if, for example, you are sick, if you're caring for a loved one with COVID. But the circumstances are pretty limited and rare, and they require advanced approval by the board. So we are thinking that AB 2449 probably won't be used too much. It might be used by a board member if they are ill or taking care of a family member from time to time. There's a limit on how often they can be used as well. It can only be used a few times during the year. So I think what's going to be happening is boards will revert back to the old Brown Act teleconferencing rules. So if you do need to be remote, you will just need to make sure your location's on the agenda and the public can access your location.
So we'll need to have barbecues out front of our house to be remote, is what it sounds like. Thank you, Allison. Appreciate the answers.
So any other questions from the board? It's been moved and seconded. Any public comment on this approving of the agenda, the consent agenda? Okay, will you poll the board, please, Patrice?
Yes. Gabriel Cox. Aye. Gallagher.
Aye.
Nunez.
Aye.
Pimentel.
Aye.
Frio.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you. So moving to item number 10, the regular agenda. Consideration of approval of the report on behalf of the medical staff and the committees on Dr. Angel's oral report. Any questions from the staff, of the staff? And is there any questions from the public regarding this matter?
There's
Hearing
no
none,
one. There's no one.
there's no one. Thank you. So we'll move to motion to approve the medical executive committee, the credentials report for December, into disciplinary practice credentials report of December as well.
I'm sorry, Chair, is this not part of was that not part of the consent agenda, or was that another item onto itself?
It's its own item.
I have it as a separate agenda item.
Yes.
Am I right, Patrice?
It's item 10A.
I'll
So we
move approval.
need a motion and a second.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Thank you. Any public comment? You said there's nobody.
Yes, no.
Will you pull the board, please?
Gabriel Cox. Aye. Gallagher.
Aye.
Nunez.
Aye.
Pimentel.
Aye.
Frio.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you, everybody. So moving on to part B, consideration and approval of the 2023 budget. Julie, this is your turn. I just would like to tell everybody that Marcus and I spent a lot of time with Julie yesterday at the Finance Committee, where she did a wonderful job of preparing the budget. And I think you'll agree after you hear her presentation tonight, how fortunate we are to have her. And it's in your package, but I did ask Julie to drill down a little deeper for all of us to have a better understanding of it. But I'd like to bring your attention to the piece where the shift that's been made, the swing that's been made from where the hospital was a year ago to where our projection is for this year and the potential for next year. So Julie, it's all yours.
Great. Thank you very much, John. Excuse me. And it's wonderful to be here. I would just like to say that I'm just very pleased to have joined Watsonville Community Hospital. I'm on week number 4, so I've spent the first 3 weeks really kind of diving into the budget and just enough to get my feet wet, but certainly to learn there's a lot more that I need to dig into. Yeah, Beatrice, if you could get that other file.
Yeah, let me. Let me make sure I get this on.
I muted.
Maybe like
10,
an
15
hour,
minutes.
10 or 15, then we have to go do the dogs. I didn't want to go alone.
Yeah, let me start sharing it. Okay,
Good.
can you guys see it? Yeah.
I think that's still the district budget. How about the hospital?
Oh, okay. That's the one you sent me, the last one?
Yeah, this
And
the one, same one
got-
we went through yesterday.
Okay, so I thought you sent a new one, but that's for the district. Okay, hold
Yeah.
on, let me just pull that one.
Okay, thank you. Well, while she's bringing that up, I'll just kind of go through what I'm planning to present. I want to give you a quick process overview because this budget didn't go through normal steps to kind of build a budget from the bottom up with a lot of department level detail. That's going to be a work in progress and certainly a goal for 2024 budget. So I'm going to give you a high level overview of what we did do to build this budget, talk a little bit about our volume assumptions, show you both the revenue and expense budget, give you a whole slide on all the various initiatives that are have been undertaken and are being undertaken to move this hospital in a tremendous swing, probably one that I've never seen in my hospital career of doing about a $32 million, $33 million swing in 1 year. It's incredible. Talk a little bit about, how kind of expect to see it roll out because we won't see everything on day one. And then a little bit just high level on some of the financial plans for this next year.
I'm sorry, I thought it was, do you have it? Because I don't have it in my files, the hospital one.
Yeah, I can do it, or I could probably just talk to it, and not have to bring up the slides. 'Cause I have the slides on paper in front of me, so I can talk to it from that. And unless people have a preference to see
Julie,
slides.
why don't you start and I'll email it to Beatrice and then once she
Yes.
has it, okay?
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so the process, we basically use some high level key performance metrics. We often look at things on a per adjusted patient day basis. And so that was used in preparing this budget. We had, at the time we started the budget preparation, we weren't quite closed with November. So we used our October year-to-date data and annualized it so that we could have a full year-over-year comparison. For most of the expenses, we applied a 3% inflationary factor. We did do some volume projections, which I'll talk about in a moment when we go to the volume slide, and then use that per adjusted patient day to recast our numbers for the higher volumes. We have about close to $30 million worth of initiatives that are both removal of non-recurring costs from the bankruptcy, as well as a number of favorable initiatives around cost reduction, around better contracting rates, service lines, et cetera. So we'll go through that. Great, perfect, thank you. If you can go up to the next slide. And one more slide. Okay, perfect. So from a volume assumption, just to highlight a few of the volumes, what I'm showing you here is 2021 full year, 2022 where we did annualize October numbers, and then 2023 where we have projected some increases, and in some cases, initiatives will add a little bit additional volume. Generally, our increases included a 2% volume increase on inpatient and outpatient visits, a 1% in the emergency room, and a kind of blended 6.5% for surgeries. So you can see we're going to be looking at about 4,100 admissions for the year, which will be a little over, 15,000 patient days, because we're doing really well with length of stay in the 3.75 range. And so we're targeting to stay in that range. That'll bring us to an average daily census of just over 42. And it'll, the 1% increase puts us, just shy of 31.5 thousand ED visits. Pretty busy ED for this hospital. You'll see about 69,000 outpatient visits and just under 2,500 surgeries is what we've projected. Next slide, please. So what I want to highlight with the revenue, a lot of numbers on this page, but generally speaking, we are projecting just over $1 billion gross revenue, as you all know from our payer mix and how we contract for rates, that we see a small percentage of that. We are actually, with some of our new insurance contracts and other improvement efforts, looking to move that collectible patient revenue from a current rate of about 13% up to 15%. And that would bring in our collectible patient revenue just under 155 million and a little over 100, almost 156 million when we bring in other revenues. Next slide, please. On the expense side, as you imagine, the bulk, a high percentage of our expenses, over 60% are in salaries, wages, benefits, and I'm including our registry usage for contracted help. That's an area we've had to rely on quite a bit this year with staffing shortages. There's a lot of great recruiting and things going on now. And over the last few months, we've seen a nice decline in our registry usage, although I think it will be up in December. But we have one of our initiatives is to continue to reduce that in the next year, as you can see, by about $2.5 million. The other big ticket item we have buried in the other expenses is our QAF payments for those provider fees, where we get the dollars back for the population that we serve. So generally where we're trying to go here, as you can kind of see, is that we're getting into a positive EBITDA of about just shy of 3.4 million. The one thing that's kind of a big change year over year is this year, our actuals have captured those MPT leases and property insurance. That moves to the district in the 2023 budget, leaving just some of our financed leases that we have for equipment and other things. That's why you see this huge decrease from almost 7.4 million to 151,000. So the hospital, we are projecting to get to a positive EBITDA and a positive net income by the end of 2023. Next slide. So here's where a lot of the big dollars are that are going to move us into the positive. There's a lot of transition costs, almost $11 million that we don't expect to reoccur. Many of those are already gone. A few of them have a little tail into 2023. A lot of work that's been done on the new contract rates, and we're estimating close to $12 million in favorable rate increases. The Cath Lab and the Da Vinci robot are both bringing us some new procedures as well as some new EBITDA money, about close to $1 million there. We've got initiatives that deal with getting a new group purchasing organization, Vizient, as well as being able to apply for some sales tax exemption. Some of that work comes on later in the year, but it'll give us another $1.3 million. And then you'll see that there are a few items here that also have additional expense to us, such as the new ICU group that comes on probably in second quarter. Will add about $500,000 in professional fees. And then the work we're doing around open positions, salary increases, is about $3 million worth of expense. That expense, again, hoping to offset with the reduction in contract labor, as well as we have some work to do in premium pays and reducing our usage of overtime. And then there's some miscellaneous kind of smaller expenses buried in, along with our general market basket updates to the revenue side. So in total, close to $30 million worth of initiatives to work on. Next slide, please. So as I was saying, some of these initiatives are in progress. Some of these initiatives will start a little later in the year. So this is just basically illustrative because it will never come out exactly like this. But the general purpose of this slide was to say, we're going to try to get onto that positive EBITDA by the third quarter, definitely wanting to hit it by the fourth quarter. But just the way I've, at a high level, tried to attribute when we think the initiatives will kind of take hold, it would suggest that by the third quarter, we start to see some favorable EBITDA. Next slide, please. And, the final slide here is just to really kind of reiterate that, we're on a journey here, very close look at monthly performance, monitoring it, reporting on it, managing cash flow very closely. And to the extent that any of our initiatives that cost us money need to be adjusted because of cash flow, we will, carefully look at that. Probably the biggest thing we're asking for here or suggesting we're doing is that this was a summary level budget that we've prepared. We need to have the ability to continue to learn over the next few quarters and bring kind of revised budgets on a quarterly basis, just to either tell you kind of what's changed, what we've identified that maybe we didn't know about at this point in time. And so that is really the plan, is to bring a quarterly update for this budget. We are capturing our actual performance at the department level so that we can develop some strong departmental level reporting. We can work with the managers to educate them and develop the accountabilities that we want to hold at the department level. And that by the late summer, we'll build, our plan is to build a detailed budget for 2024. So with that, I'm open for questions.
I'll jump in and continue where John left off. We, Finance Committee, had our first meeting yesterday, and I really appreciated, Julie, how you presented and how well you were prepared for that meeting. And I think this is welcome week 4. The budget, is a reminder, all is based on October actuals. So from 2 months ago, we used that month to project out the budget for the next year. And as Julie mentioned, we're going to be doing quarterly updates. By 3 months from now, the numbers will have shifted one way or another. We're still in a very dynamic place. This is a new organizational structure with a lot of reorganizational parts. And I'll end with this budget, our hospital budget, ends with a $3 million budgeted excess. But note that our district is $6 million short. So in the end, you merge those two together, we're going to be short based on our budget right now by $3.4 million. So kudos to Cecilia and this whole amazing team, that Stephen and everybody that pulled all the solutions together to bring our deficits down from a $20 million annual loss down to maybe $3 million annual loss. But we're still projected to be a $3 million annual loss when you combine our two entities together. So that's nothing. We're not in a point of time of fund excess where we're ready to expand, but we have to be really careful and cautious with everything we're doing. So I just really appreciate, Julie, all the work you did and the time it took for you answering our questions yesterday. I know John and I had some good times chatting finance and getting back into the numbers. So I really appreciated you and your team's efforts.
Thank you.
Could I also ask a question? Julie, early on one of the slides, you listed there was a list of admissions slightly over 4,000, and the next line down was adjusted admissions at about 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. Can you explain?
Sure. Adjusted admissions are calculated to try to include your outpatient
I
business.
see. Got it.
And so, yeah, okay, you got it.
Thanks.
Sure.
Julie, this is John. I think I asked you yesterday, but I don't recall what the answer was. Although there isn't anybody, or very few these days, that pay actual published rates. Does this budget include a rate increase across the board?
There wasn't a like a CDM increase, a charge master increase budgeted. What's budgeted in here is just increased volume at current rates. But then also improved contractual rates. So we will get paid better from our payers than we were previously getting paid.
And Julie, we do have that initiative underway for the charge master that rather than just increasing charges across the board, because so few of them are actually used to in insurance reimbursement, instead, we're doing a strategic analysis of the charges, specifically around things that typically are paid on a percent of charges basis and whether or not we're charging the right amount. So we have booked some favorable, in your initiatives list, there is some favorable impact of increasing the selected charges that are impacted.
Right, thank you.
Yep. So thank you. Just so that, you know, we'll probably get questions when we announce that the budget has been approved. One of the questions the public will ask and the newspaper folks will ask, how much did you raise rates by? What's the best way to answer that?
Yeah, I always, when I talk to people who, are not in the healthcare world, and you too, John, I usually start by reminding people that the hospital's rates, there's our charges, and then there's what we get paid, and very few people pay our charges. I think that the most impactful thing we've done here is we've increased the amount that we will be collecting from insurance companies. And at least at this moment, we have not increased our billed charges. And in fact, in your consent agenda, you approved a charity care policy that would make it very clear that even people who are self-pay do not pay the billed amount, but rather our average Medicare reimbursement is the cap.
Yeah, thank you. I just would like the board to be aware that that's probably the best way to answer a question that we might get, and that we are in the healthcare business that's really dependent on negotiated rates, and federal government, state government will only pay what they think is best to pay. And we have to dickle with them to get the right number. So there is, the days of a rate increase meaning anything are gone. And we're all down to our ability to negotiate a new rate. So thank you. Any other questions for Julie?
I'll just bring it back to a really well done executive report, a really well done presentation, and the detailed budget is included in the board report and ready for the board to consider. If there are no more questions, I guess public comment and then come back to the board.
I do have just a quick question about the what the budget process for the 2024 budget might look like in the summer. I don't know if that's looking too far ahead, but what would that look like compared to, obviously, this one had to be done very quickly. And I thank you for that, Julie, but what would that process look like for 2024?
Sure. I would hope to be starting that process by probably early August internally, where we have, at least a good 6 or 7 months worth of actual performance. Really can look at our volumes. We typically will start by projecting what we think our volume projections for 2024 can be, because those really drive so many of our expenses in terms of how much staffing we need, what sort of supply budgets and purchase services budgets we need. We will be looking at our data more at the department level, using our various productivity measures and other KPIs, but also just more detailed knowledge at a department level, so that we can build department level budgets based on kind of more department level statistics. And then we'll get information as we do about inflation factors. We'll look at our efficiency type initiatives, things where we may still be trying to reduce overtime, or any other type of maybe expense things that we see. We'll probably still be working some of these initiatives, so we may see that they're taking a little bit longer and going to move into 2024. But it would be a much more iterative process internally, where we'll set some targets for ourselves. We'll get that first base budget built. We'll look at it. We'll say, okay, probably didn't meet the initial target. We'll work internally to find those additional dollars and get to our targets. And then, by the time that we would present the final budget for approval, you'd have basically a summary similar to today's summary that would tell you what we did with volumes and what our expectations are. It would just be, we would have built it at the detailed level, at a department level, and be able to speak to a finer level of detail.
I know it probably takes some more time and effort from staff, and I know that's you all have so much going on, but I would do we have a public outreach or even a staff outreach plan for when we do come across, or when we do start, at least maybe like a month or two before the preliminary budget comes to the board? I would like that for the public to have a look at that, and to have some sort of input in that budget as well too.
Like a preview to the budget, or at least a status of where we're at?
I just don't want, what I don't want to happen is for the budget to come to us, for initial approval, and it be in its final form when the public first gets his eyes on it. That's something that I wouldn't want to happen. And I don't know if my fellow board members agree with me, but some sort of public input process into that would be, I think, essential.
I'll echo that, and I think that's something we must do anyways. And Tony, you're spot on with our efforts through our foundation work, recognizing that we have 3 years, 1, 2, 3, I think, to exercise our option to buy the land, and that's a big number. So we've got a lot of work to do, and I think going back to our public and providing the trust and confidence in our budget and our turnaround plan, I think it's important. I could see us doing a budget show where, a few of us, go to different city council meetings, or just travel to where people are at. So I'm just recognizing that's a really smart comment and something we must do.
Okay.
There's also a process that's being laid out for the strategic planning process that on the same topic, because there's a long-term financial plan that goes along with the strategic plan. And as we've discussed, that process is extremely inclusive of the community and of physicians and staff. So it's 2 ways to get at the same objective.
And hopefully in a few years, all good strategic plans will drive the budget decision. So by the time the budget comes, it's informed by the strategic plan, which develops an operational plan.
Now you're talking, Marcus. Now you're talking. And then the only other question that I had, unless Cecilia, you had something else to add on that?
No,
Or-
no.
The only other question I had was when are the Da Vinci and the other robot?
Cath lab.
Yeah, the Cath lab. When are those two initiatives going to be operational? Do we have an estimated date on that?
Well, I'll defer to Matco on the Da Vinci. On the Cath lab, our arbitration with the financing company is set for, I think, like February 16th. It got delayed. And I imagine if we resolve our differences in arbitration that we could move forward extremely quickly on the Cath lab. But Matco, you want to speak to the Da Vinci?
Absolutely. Da Vinci is scheduled to arrive tomorrow morning, actually.
Ooh.
So it'll be on site tomorrow with training to follow. So we'll have that implemented in January as we expected.
Awesome. So my birthday is February 18th, so I'm hoping for an early birthday present on February 16th. So
Do you need surgery, Tony?
Thank you for answering my questions. Appreciate it.
I hear June already scribing out the press release for that Da Vinci when it arrives, and a photo shoot of somebody riding on top of it.
Marcus and Tony, this is John. I'd just like to go back to your comments about how do we keep the public informed. Maybe we could put that on an agenda item for the finance committee, and we can talk about it as to how the best way to do it. Frequently is what's called a budget call, where assumptions are made available and year-to-date numbers are, used. And I'm sure Julie's familiar with that process, and it might not hurt for us to use a model like that and bringing it out when she's ready to start developing the budget and asking for public input at our upcoming meetings to give people the opportunity. But, once again, I'm a full believer as an elected body, we're the voice of the community. So hopefully people will bring it to us and we can carry it on to committee meetings and board meetings. But it certainly wouldn't hurt to let them know that we're getting ready to start that cycle again, and we would be interested in any input. But I think it would be good for us to talk about how best to do that in the finance committee over the next couple of months. Would you be okay with that, Julie?
Yeah, I think that would be awesome.
And I want to also add, our finance committee identified many of our first tasks are starting the committee, putting the rules of conduct into place, but also expanding it beyond John and myself. So, that's another opportunity to bring select members of our community to this table, including some staff. So, I think there's going to be multiple strategies. We've got to get our message out that we're strong and going to be here for another 128 years. We just got to get through these first couple of years of laying the foundation.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that.
Any other comments then for Julie before we move on with public comment regarding the budget for next year? And Patrice, I'm assuming there's nobody interested in commenting?
Patrice, you're on mute.
Thank you. Let me check. There's some additional people who came in. If anyone wants to speak to the board right now, please raise the icon hand so I can allow you to speak.
Specifically about the budget.
Yes. No one's raising their hand.
Okay, so we'll close the public comment period on the budget and entertain a motion to approve the 2023 budget from the board.
I'll move approval of our calendar year 2023 budget, again noting that our combined budgets are calling for a $3.4 million deficit, but I'm really proud with all the work, so I'll move approval.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, so it's been moved in second. Patrice, would you poll the board, please?
Yes. Gabriel Cox? Aye. Gallagher?
Aye.
Nunez?
Aye.
Pimentel?
Aye.
Frio?
Aye. Thank you, everybody. And again, Julie, thank you to you and your team for doing a great job in such short time. And we look forward to working with you to develop future budgets and implement this one that we just approved in the following year.
Thank you.
My agenda tells me that we're at adjournment for this meeting, and so we need to close and open up in the district meeting. Am I right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. We're adjourned.
Want to start our district meeting, John?
Yeah, I'm trying to get to it here. Just a second. Okay, do we still have everybody connected?
Yes.
Patricia might have
Ready
to
to
help through her. I'm having difficulty calling it up, but let's call the meeting, the district to order and do a roll call, please.
Yes. Gabriel Cox. Aye. Gallagher.
Aye.
Nunez.
Hi, right here.
Pimentel.
Aye.
Priel.
Aye. Oh, here. Patrice, next item on the agenda, I believe is,
Consideration of late items to the agenda, if any, and I don't think there's any. And we go to public comment.
okay, is there any public comment at this time?
No. I don't see any hands up.
Okay, hearing none at this time, we'll close the public comment period. The next item is consideration of late items, late additions.
It's actually we're on consent agenda. If any questions from the board?
I'll move
Public
approval of the consent agenda, Marcus.
Second to the consent agenda.
Do we need to go out to public comment first? I don't know if there is any.
Comment.
Just a follow.
I don't have any hands up.
Okay, I'll second that then.
Okay, so do we need to poll the board on this?
Yes.
Okay, please poll the board.
Gabriel Cox. Aye. Gallagher.
Aye.
Nunez.
Aye.
Pimentel.
Aye.
Priel.
Aye.
The motion carries.
And the next agenda item, Patrice, is
It's 5A, approval of post-affiliation project board members recommended by the project affiliation ad hoc committee and staff. And June is giving the presentation.
thank you. June, you've got the floor.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, members of the board and guests. June Ponce here, Director of Marketing Growth and Outreach. I'm here again. I'm here with a recommendation of post-affiliation project board members for the project. As you can recall, a few months ago, March 16th, I came forward with the idea of asking the project to be the fundraising arm for the hospital. And since then, November 30th, you approved an MOU to begin the initial process of the affiliation between Pajaro Valley Healthcare District and the Pajaro Valley Healthcare District project, which has been the successful fundraising arm who helped acquire the hospital. Since then, you approved an MOU. Within the MOU, there's a couple outlines. One was the communications plan. One was adopting the new bylaws, and and also core qualifications for new board members. So essentially where we are now in the process is we had a ad hoc committee, which John Frail, board chair John Frail, board member Katie Cox, and myself, and Stephen Sawyer, we were part of this core ad hoc committee to ensure that the process and interview process of potential candidates would happen. We conducted those interviews between the weeks of November 16th and right now, I'm sorry, November 30th and now, and we acquired very good candidates who have experience doing fundraising, are committed to fundraising for the hospital and support the hospital for years to come. The project, the ad hoc committee, and myself, we are recommending these 5 proposed candidates: Janet Hine, Brent Dunton, Irene Chavez, Jennifer DeKisto, and Stephen Sawyer. And just to give you a brief overview of who they are, these individuals are, just a snapshot. Janet Hine is just recently completed her 7 years serving on the Community Foundation of Santa Cruz County. She's a retired employee of Driscoll's, was the HR director, and has been a supporter of Watsonville Community Hospital, and is very much engaged in moving things forward for the hospital, for the success of the hospital. Brent Dunton has been in financing for over 19 years. He currently works as a vice president of business banking officer for Santa Cruz County Bank. He's volunteered in numerous local nonprofits and is a board member of Santa Cruz Sunrise Rotary. And ultimately, Brent has been instrumental in getting other folks to donate to the hospital. He was an influential ambassador. Irene Chavez is the Senior Vice President and Area Manager for San Jose Santa Cruz Kaiser Health Plan. She is very well connected in Santa Cruz and in Silicon Valley, has the interest of the hospital in mind, loves serving on some of her boards, and also was recognized as San Jose Chamber of Commerce Businesswoman of the Year. Jennifer DeKisto, she's the regional president and market executive for Bank of America in the Monterey Bay area. She is incredible and has been supportive of the hospital since she heard of the acquisition process. Bank of America has invested some monies and contributed some monies to the hospital. She is connected and has worked with numerous organizations, including Habitat for Humanity, Hartnell Community College, Second Harvest Food Bank, and County Office of Ed. And you can see in her bio, she's really well connected. And then we have Stephen Sawyer. Of course, you know our CEO, and he's experienced, and we enjoy working with Stephen. So those are our 5 candidates, first initial post-affiliation candidates. I don't know if John and Katie, if you would like to add anything else since you were part of the interview process.
I'll just add that we really were focused on process. And so previously June had outlined core qualifications, which included a belief in the mission and vision, dedicated and committed, able to lead and influence others, hold fiduciary responsibility, and inclusivity. And so we really tried to focus on these core values and qualifications when interviewing each applicant. And And, you know, I feel like the most important thing to me is that each person was committed to our mission and dedicated as a volunteer and expressed an intention to really commit to the process and to the financial viability of the hospital.
You're muted, John.
I was going to say, I can't really have much to add to that, although I was so impressed with the people who we've just talked about this evening in the background and the experience that they'll bring to the foundation and their commitment to the community and their commitment to the hospital and willingness to serve and fully understand the role of the foundation, which is philanthropic and to ask people for money and to cultivate donors going forward, either through plan giving, estate planning, actual individual gifts such as year-end or annual appeals or what have you. And that's always refreshing. And the 5 people that we talked to were all on board with that. So I was very, very impressed with them and would recommend that we approve them tonight.
Any other questions?
Any questions from the board of June's work or for Katie and I?
Minor question, I don't need her home address, but Jennifer DeKisto, is she a resident of the Monterey Bay area or Watsonville or in the district?
She's not in the district. She lives in Gilroy, and is her main focus is Monterey, Santa Cruz, San Benito area.
Okay, close enough where she's been familiar with everything that's been going on. So that was it. I really appreciate this. It's a good, strong new board for our foundation. So thank you for all your work, and thank you to our ad hoc committee friends, John and Katie. John, you seem to be doing a little bit of everything, but I appreciate everybody's work on this.
Thank you. Any public comment, Patrice?
If there's anyone who wants to speak, will you please raise your icon hand? I don't see anyone.
Okay, thank you. So I'm open, the board's open to a motion to approve these folks and in a second.
Yeah, I'll happily move staff recommendation on this.
Thank you, Tony. Is there a second?
I can second.
Thank you, Katie. Would you poll the board, please, Patrice?
Yeah. Gabriel Cox,
Aye.
Gallagher,
Aye.
Nunez,
Aye.
Pimentel,
Aye.
Trio.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Beatrice. I apologize for calling you Patrice every once in a while. So I used to work with someone whose name was Patrice. Sorry. Flashback. Next item on our agenda.
It's consideration of approval of 2023 budget.
Okay, so we
And-
just had a pretty lengthy presentation by Julie. And are there any further questions? Are there any significant differences between the district budget and the?
I'll note, I mean, I think Julie can recap this. The district budget is $6.6 million projected deficit, and the biggest chunk of that is the MPT leases that switched out of the hospital operations and into the district cost. This represents our coastal health partners in this board's activities. So when you combine the $6.6 million budgeted loss here with the $3.3 million gain out of the hospital, again, we're looking at a combined about $3.4 million projected deficit for this first year. So a lot of work ahead. It's, again, better than $20 million loss. And our hopes are that through the quarterly updates, we'll be bringing those numbers closer to zero than bigger negatives. I don't know, Julie, is there anything you would want to add? And just appreciation to all the work on getting this done so quickly.
Well, Julie, you're on mute.
No, Marcus, thank you. That was a perfect summary. It really is a tremendous amount of work to move it where we're at, but we recognize the work ahead, and a lot more detail will go into future iterations.
Yeah, I think we've set this up structurally so that unless something dramatic happens, I think we will always expect a deficit at the district level. Obviously, its activities are things that are supportive to the hospital, but they carry the expense for the real estate and they carry the expense for physician recruiting. So probably not ever going to get to zero on the district side.
So any public on this subject of approving the district budget for 23?
I don't
public
see any.
comment?
I don't see any hands.
Okay, so the chair will entertain a motion from the board to approve the budget.
I'll
Move
move to
approval. Katie, you got it.
move to approve staff recommendation to approve the 2023 district budget.
Thank you, Katie. And Marcus, was that you I heard second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Thank you. And Beatrice, would you pull the board, please?
Yes. Gabriel Cox,
Aye.
Gallagher,
Aye.
Nunez,
Aye.
Pimentel,
Aye.
Frio.
Aye.
The motion carries.
I'd like to jump back a little bit, June, if you're still on with us. I forgot to thank you for all the hard work that you've been doing in helping us develop the foundation. I kind of jumped right to the next agenda item after approving the nomination of the 5 members. So if you're still there, thank you very much for everything that you're doing to help us make this transition possible.
Very kind of you. Thank you. Thank you, board. It's my pleasure. Thank you for serving in the ad hoc committee, and thank you, Katie.
My pleasure. Okay, Beatrice, next agenda item, please.
It's item C, consideration of adoption of bylaws for the Pajaro Valley Healthcare District. And the report, I believe it's going to be done by Attorney Bassett.
Okay, Allison, rather, are you ready to go?
Sure.
Thank you.
So we are presenting to you the district bylaws, which have been reviewed, and these latest revisions, I believe, largely incorporate proposed changes made by Director Pimentel. And so let me go down and so some of the changes, for example, reference the fact that the district and the hospital corporation are co-leases of the property. So that was just an update that was made. This draft has been in process for a few months now, so we just updated that. We also updated some of the language surrounding the committees, standing and ad hoc committees. We clarified that the directors on committees are, have a vote. And so that language is in there now. And we also clarified that there's 3 standing committees. There's the Finance Committee, the Audit Committee, and the Building and Facilities Committee. Before, the Finance and Audit Committee were combined as one. So that clarification was made. And other than that, we further delineated the Audit Committee duties, and we added a few more duties to the list that they have to do. For example, we are the Audit Committee will be recommending strategies, including potential capital campaigns towards the acquisition of and retaining ownership of the hospital's real property. And the Audit Committee will also recommend to the board for adoption the use of any facilities, including logistical consideration by the community for the community's benefit. So those are that's all of the changes that were made to these bylaws, and I think they reflect Marcus's, comments, which were, really helpful. And so we are presenting them to you for your approval.
Thank you, Allison. Any comments from the board to Allison or this about the bylaws?
Again, can I ask, sorry.
Go ahead, Joe.
Joe, floor is yours.
Can I ask a question, Allison? In Article 7, Section 2 about amendment, there are two circumstances. With 7-day notice, it's a majority of the board. The part that I was unfamiliar with was without notice, a unanimous approval by the board. Under what kind of circumstances would you imagine a non-notice change to the bylaws? My background is about med staff bylaws where the bar is very high for changing those so you don't disenfranchise medical staff members. So can you help me understand under what circumstance you would do it?
So I think this concept is in here. It's similar to how some private boards either pass things via resolution by a majority of the board, or they can do it not at an in-person meeting, but it has to be by unanimous written consent. And so I think that sentence here is just giving you the option of, perhaps there was a change that you wanted to make and it needs to be done in 5 days. If every single member of the board unanimously votes for that change, we can propose the amendment and you don't have to worry about having that 7-day notice requirement. So I think it's just giving you a little bit more leeway with the 7-day notice requirement here. I personally, I can't think of a situation where you would need a change to the bylaws, within days. I mean, that I can't think of a situation where that would happen, but this is, giving you the opportunity if something came up and you needed to make such a change, that if each one of you unanimously votes for it, then you could, it's almost like waiving the notice requirement, the 7-day notice requirement.
And I assume that's legally okay and doesn't do anything contrary to the Brown Act or our function as a public entity.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Allison at this time? So we'll move to public comment. Anybody from the public wanting to make a comment on these bylaws?
Yeah, there's only one person left now.
Okay, so the chair is open to a motion and a second to approve the bylaws as submitted.
I'll make a motion to approve staff recommendation, and I'll also just say thank you to Marcus. I think that your message has been consistent in line with my thinking as well too. Is the most important thing that we're going to do over the next few years is trying to buy back and get out of this lease. And so thank you for keeping that top of mind. And yeah, I'll go ahead and move the motion.
Thank you for the motion. The second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Marcus. It's been moved and seconded. Beatrice, would you pull the board, please?
Yes. Gerald Cox,
Aye.
Gallagher,
Aye.
Nunez,
Aye.
Pimentel,
Aye.
Frio.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Beatrice. I believe that brings us to adjournment.
Yes.
Hey, John, this is Stephen. I have a thing, please.
Yeah, Stephen, what's up?
So this will be Beatrice's last meeting. And Dawn Bullwinkle, who's on the line right now, taking over possibly as our clerk. And we knew Beatrice would only be putting in a few months with us, but she was extremely important in the transition, as you know, in the past few months. So I just want to publicly thank Beatrice for her hard work. Thank you for coming out of retirement and helping us out. New venture. We will ask you to, stay in touch and maybe pop in some of the board meetings if you wouldn't mind. That way we can see you. But thank you for your hard work, dedication, and getting us through this critical point of being a new company and helping us as a clerk. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I really enjoyed working with everyone and I really learned a lot also. And but I want to be able to travel without having to worry. But I am available if you need me for questions or anything like that.
Excellent. And John, we will introduce Dawn next month, and we'll allow you to introduce yourself and so forth.
Okay. So thank you, Beatrice. So I hope we left you enough time to get home and pack. For those of you who don't know, she's leaving for a month to Mexico tomorrow, and she hasn't packed yet. So thank you for helping us. Thank you for being with us tonight, and have a wonderful trip.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Beatrice.
Thank you.
So if there's nothing else to come before the board, then we're adjourned. So happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year. And to you. All right. Bye all.
Thank you for your hard work. Good
Bye.
night.
Thank you.
Enjoy the grandkids, Beatrice.
I will.